Hey all, welcome to beautiful sunny Florida and welcome to one of the most disappointing cars I have ever driven, the 2019 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. Now here's a little background. I flew down here to visit my grandparents. I went to the Hertz rental car stand. They had a bunch of cars to choose from and I have a soft spot for Mitsubishis, so I chose this beautiful blue Outlander Sport. And over the last few days, it has done nothing but disappoint me in pretty much every way. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why and talk about how if you have a choice at rental car agencies, maybe avoid the Outlander Sport. And maybe if you're looking at buying a good used car, maybe avoid the Outlander Sport as well. Now, this is a pre-facelift model. They did facelift it in 2020, but I don't think they changed enough, to be honest, because I recently just drove a 2021 Outlander Sport. It's marginally better, but overall, not a brilliant thing to drive or to experience in general. So let's talk about some of the good stuff. Well, first of all, one of the reasons I was drawn to the Outlander Sport is that it is a very good looking car, especially the pre-facelift model. I think is overall just very attractive. I really like the front end. I like the standard wheels that they had on this model. I think it was quite an attractive design. This blue is beautiful, super vibrant. I like the front end with kind of this incorporated bumper design that has the shiny black, the chrome, and then the blue accenting. I think the headlight design on this year was really pretty attractive. Not too much black cladding as well. Along the side here, we do have some kind of cool lines zipping up the belt line, which is pretty neat. And then in the back, very tidy taillight, a little bit of chrome, and then this really aggressive rear splitter. So overall, from a design standpoint, I think that the Outlander Sport, especially the pre-facelift model, is quite good. Now, when they kind of changed the design in 2020, same basic overall car, but they went with a more non-traditional front end, which I don't like as much, but this model, at least visually, looks quite nice. Now, there are some things that bug me. First of all, this, I thought that maybe someone had added this on from like an O'Reilly's or Pep Boys, but no, that's how it came. Why is there just a random porthole, which of course is completely fake? Looks like something out of a Buick, except there should be 3 of them. And then the fog light situation. So check this out. It doesn't have fog lights, which I'm kind of okay with. I believe this is an ES trim, so it's more of a base model. But here's the thing. It has the switch for fog lights. I kid you not. Check this out. It has the little collar on the turn signal stock to turn on the fog lights, but there's no way to turn them on because it doesn't have them. So I'm fine not having fog lights, but don't give me the darn switch if you're not going to give me the actual lights. Now let's talk about the engine, because this is the real start of the disappointment. So Outlander Sports use, on the base end of things, a 2-liter 4-cylinder, right around 148 horsepower. And this truly is a bummer of a little engine. Now, it's transversely mounted, made it to a CVT. Unlike my dad, I'm actually not that much of a CVT hater. I mean, I think that they're fine in an economy car, but this engine transmission combo is one of the roughest and the most unrefined combos I have ever driven in any car, period. So 148 horsepower. It's not a speed demon, which I'm kind of okay with, but right around like 1500, 2000 RPM, there's just this terrible harshness in the throttle pedal. The whole thing kind of has this shake to it, which is just really unpleasant to experience. And you experience it a lot because you're always kind of right at that 2000 RPM, 2500 RPM experience as you're just slowly accelerating throughout town. So the whole car just does this horrible vibration that resonates throughout the cabin. Now, it could be that, of course, this is a rental car and maybe someone did something to it, but it runs, I think, properly. Like, it shifts through the CVT pretty well, and it, revs up and down, and there's no check engine lights, no warning lights. It's just got this really kind of uncomfortable resonance in the cabin when you hit 2,000, 2,500 RPM. And then when you couple that with one of the loudest highway rides I've ever experienced, from an NVH standpoint, noise, vibration, harshness standpoint, this car is extremely unpleasant to experience, especially on longer road trips. So let's check out the interior. Still have an old school key, which I'm fine with. I do like me a key, actually. Stick it in the key slot. Let's go find some shade so we can talk about what we have going on the interior of the Outlander Sport, which is kind of one of the next big problems with this car. So check out this dashboard design. It is nothing but an incredible sea of hard black plastics. And unfortunately, the new model really isn't much better. The overall dash design is pretty much identical, but every material you touch is just a pointing quality sea of black plastic, something you'd find in well, I hate to say it, but like a porta potty. This is really not far off. It's just chintzy and chintzy and chintzy and chintzy. They tried to at least add some design here, and this would look good if they had like a contrasting color, like maybe bring a blue in, but just terrible. And then that brings us to the plastic steering wheel, which feels like something that Fisher-Price would make. It does have some steering wheel buttons, which is nice. So we do have volume up and down, as well as track advancement, as well as Bluetooth phone connectivity buttons, which is good. It does have cruise control, which is nice. But the quality of the materials in here are really poor. Like, for example, over here on the armrest, you're like, wow, look, they added some fabric. And they did, but they forgot to pad it. It's just like fabric on top of more black plastic. So that really isn't all that comfortable. In the middle, we do have kind of this plasticky armrest, which is a little bit better, but overall, the quality of materials is really extremely poor. And then across the doors, we see like this kind of shiny trim, which looks like something out of a 1990s Toyota. The door switches all feel pretty bad. Not much improved on the new model. Oh man, it's just bad. It's just nothing in this interior really feels all that good. It does have power windows, it does have power mirrors, which is good, and power locks. Now this is an ES, so it is more of a entry-level spec, but check out all the blank switches over here. That didn't even include one switch that's real. Why not just include additional plastic housing here so you don't have to remind people constantly that they didn't get any additional switches? Down here by the shifter, this random hole, I think this was for the drive mode selector if you got a nice one. This one doesn't have it. Same thing up here, you got this random, finishing plug. I think that's for the keyless start. Doesn't have it. Just what an absolute disappointment of crummy feeling plastics and missing switches, like here on the steering wheel or here on the steering wheel. Come on, Mitsubishi. I will say the seats do look quite nice. I really do like this kind of little red pattern they included in the seats. I do like the red stitching. That looks nice. Of course, it does have side airbags, which is good. So the seats themselves are quite attractive. Not very comfortable. No lumbar support on either side of the vehicle. But at least the material looks good. I will say that. Now, some other kind of interesting things in here. So down here, we do have a transmission selector, park, reverse, neutral, drive S, and L. And then L and drive S kind of lock the CDT ratios into a higher RPM on the engine. And actually, one thing which has been surprisingly good is the infotainment system. Now this has been improved on the newer models. It's more integrated. This looks like something out of Pep Boys, but it actually is a really, really good system. Super easy to use. It's got USB connectivity. It's got Bluetooth. It's got just actually really surprisingly usable interface. Even though it does look like something from Car Toys, it is incredibly easy to use, and it has volume and tune knobs, which is just phenomenal. So they went away from the system in the new model, more integrated into the center stack. But this is actually one of the highlights for me on the interior of the Outlander Sport. Now these knobs feel terrible down here. These are the knobs for the climate controls, and they don't fit well and they don't really feel that nicely, but it does have automatic climate control, which I guess is a plus. You turn the right two knobs to auto, and then you can select the temperature using this control here. And it does have an old school parking brake, so I do appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the rear seat, see what that is like. So this is my driving position at 6'1", and I do have to say this is another highlight of the vehicle, is it does have a tremendous amount of rear seat room considering the size of the vehicle. And then you can see it does have foldable seats, which can be done quite easily and quite quickly. So the rear seat room is another plus of the Mitsubishi. I do have to admit that it's quite a nice place to spend time. It does have dual cup holders back here for rear seat passengers, so definitely one of the pros. A small hump in this one, even though this is a front wheel drive model, the hump doesn't go away. And then I do have to say as well, decent storage capacity for the size of the vehicle. Very simple design, but it is easy to fit a lot of stuff in here. Let's see what's underneath this floor. Apparently the floor is not hinged. It comes out. Space Saver spare, which I will take over no spare tire at all. So I guess another win for the Mitsubishi. So in terms of pricing, I believe the 2019 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport started at about 22 grand, and the new one is also in that territory, low $20,000 range. I've been averaging over the last couple hundred miles about 29 mpg, which is okay, but I will say the range has been impressive. Used about half a tank to cover about 228 miles. So if the fuel gauge is on, then, we're talking about a range of well into the 400s, which I am impressed about. So that is a good thing. Now, I'm just so disappointed in the drivetrain and driving experience. The steering is super numb. The engine is reluctant to move the car. You've got that weird kind of resonance at 2,000 RPM. The ride is good. It does have a well-sorted ride. The color is good. The exterior design is good. The interior is very poor. It does have a large rear seat, which is good. It's getting kind of okay fuel economy, and it does have a large trunk. So those are the good things about the Mitsubishi Outlander Sport, and they had a pretty attractive warranty as well. The new one is slightly better with a slightly improved interior, but overall still is not the vehicle I would choose in kind of this small crossover segment. You can get it with all-wheel drive, which is good. But let me know what you think of the Outlander Sport in the comment section below. As always, this has been Tommy. We'll see you guys on the next episode of TFL Now.